what a start. Inside out and upside down. No stress, I'ma clean up this mess.
Hi everyone, it's Leigh here. Thanks for joining me in my studio today. Welcome back to anyone who's been here before, and a big hello to new visitors. Hope you enjoy the video. So what I'm doing today is a video for the 5 digital items swap. This is co-hosted by Rhonda Winstead, Barbara from 49 Dragonflies, and Louisa Heinzel. So today I'm going to do Rhonda's tag. So we have to make a tag for each one. So the ladies are lovely enough to provide us with a downloadable digital image, and we just need to print it off and use it in our tag. With Rhonda's, you need to use all of those seashells. So also need to use circles in some way. Not allowed to use coffee, paint or tea. And I can use any other additional items to make the tag. So I'm just going to cut out all my little elements to begin with, and then I'll work out how I'm going to place them onto my tag. I'm using a big postcard. I thought this napkin might make a nice background image, seeing as it's sort of holiday and seaside related. So I'm going to firstly Mod Podge that down onto the postcard that I've got here. And once I've got that on, I'm going to give it a quick coat over the top of the napkin just to make sure that it stays on there. It's nice and firm. So I've trimmed off the excess napkin and just giving it that coat of Mod Podge, and then I'll put that aside to dry. So this is what I wanted to do, was to cut out the image of this on this particular postcard, and then I can use that as the outside of it as a frame. So I'm just using my blade knife, cut that out. I have to tidy it up a little bit with the scissors because it didn't cut the straightest. If you're ever having to trim inside a frame like this, I found it's easier to put the scissors underneath what you're trying to cut through, rather than when I started I was doing it with the scissors on top, and I couldn't keep them cutting in the right direction. So that's what my frame is going to look like, and I did sort of think I might put it on an angle to start with, but then I changed my mind and I end up putting it on straight. And so what I'm doing here is just auditioning where I want things to go. And once I have an idea, I then stick them down. So I thought I would do some inking on it, and I've pulled out a few, like oceany sort of colours. I don't have a lot of Distress Oxides. And I started off with, I think that's Speckled Egg, but it wasn't dark enough, so I used the blue one, which is Faded Denim, I believe, just to go around the edge of that postcard. And now I'm going around the main tag with the blue ink as well. Just notice there's a bit that's not stuck down, so I'm just fixing that up. So here I am again fiddling around with my images. I decided to cut the water away from between the two children's legs, and then a little bit later on I actually cut the boat and the little man, like the boat from the side, get rid of that as well, so it's just the 3 children. I'm just inking around the edge of that with Vintage Photo. So I spend a little bit of time fiddling around with these images, working out what's going to go where. So I'm just going to speed that up and pop a bit of music on for you, and I'll come back when I've got something that I need to tell you. So this is what I've decided I want it to look like. So I quickly take a photo of it on my phone so I don't forget where everything goes. And I think the background's a bit too dark, so I've used a piece of that, the backing off that napkin to sort of lighten that off a bit. Normally I would use gesso, but we're not allowed to use gesso, so I have to think outside the box and come up with something else, another way of lightening it. For my circles, as you can see, I've just used the sponge applicator for the oxide and stamped some circles on there. This was a disaster. I've got this little punch that makes these slots, but yeah, as you can see, that didn't work out real well, so I had to try and fix it up. So I started off trying to fix it with the scissors, and that was terrible. So then I thought I'll get my blade out again and cut it with the blade, and like more and more of the top of the tab, the top of the tag, I should say, is disappearing. In the end, it's quite unstable, but anyway, I'll have to put a really thick piece of ribbon through there so it'll disguise that little boo-boo. See, I'm still fiddling with it, thinking about cutting it down more. There I go, cut some more off it. So I'm just starting to work out how I will begin to glue these down, because some of the elements I have coming outside of the frame and some of them are within the frame, so I need to remember that's happening as I glue things down. So I end up cutting the turtle's back legs off because I didn't want them sticking off the edge of the actual card, but I left his front legs or flippers, left them coming out over the frame. So when I glued him, I didn't glue his flippers down, so that's what I'm doing there. Okay, so I'm so happy with the way it's looking at the moment. And the next thing I need to think about is where the children are going to be placed. And add a little bit more ink to them. Try and sharpen the image against that background because it's still a little bit dark. Gorgeous image. Okay, now I decide that I want to put some more little circles in there, so I'm using this stencil and just whatever ink is left in that sponge, just to put a few dots here and there. Okay, so I think I've got enough dots on there. Now I'm going to glue down the frame. So everything else that I'm putting down now is either going to be completely inside the frame or on the frame, so it was fine to glue that down. And I've just noticed that I glue the frame on upside down. Sorry, a little bit out of frame here. Oop, there we go, I must have realised, pushed it up again. So I'm going to stick down this shell. This is the one that I don't really like the colour of, but I'm using it, I'm going with it. I think it's just a bit too blue for me. I like what it looked like when it was finished, but on the sheet I didn't like that colour. But that's what these challenges are all about, so pushing us beyond our normal realm and making us decide how to use something that we wouldn't normally use, or a colour perhaps, or an item, and generally just to be a little bit more resourceful with how we do things. So could really wanted to use some gesso on this. Yeah, so I decided to stick that shell over there. And I'm going to stick down the kids in the middle. And the bird. I end up moving the children down a little bit on the page. The glue hadn't set, so I had time to do that. That's a good thing about this glue, is you get a bit of wriggle time. And then I stuck down that seagull up on the top left hand corner. He's happy up there. So I decided to stick a little gold sequin over the top of the pearl, just as a bit of a highlight on the card. And I've got some acrylic inks, so I've got turquoise, and I also use some white to add some splatters and highlights in different places. So I did let the ink sort of mix itself together, let them just do their own thing. That was a bit of a big blob. I thought I'd better cover up those kids, otherwise they're going to end up with splashes of ink all over their face. So I like the colour when those two inks mix, it's quite nice. And I added some white. And I used what was left of the ink on the block just to colour that white ribbon. I didn't like that big blob of the blue, so I just spread that out a little bit. Now I've got my black drawing ink, and I'm going to do a couple of splatters with that and a little bit of highlighting. Just adding some water. I love my black ink splatters, and oh yeah, forgot to cover up the kids, didn't I? So one of the kids has got a big black splotch on her face. I've just used the ink to redefine the wings of the bird and just go around a couple of the outside edges of some of the shells. I didn't want to overdo it. I just wanted the odd pop here and there. Went around the inside of that slot hoping that it would disguise the mess that I'd made of it. And I'm looking at it and I think I wouldn't mind actually stitching around that. So after it was dry, or the ink was dry, I took the card to my machine and sewed around the frame. The sewing machine didn't like going through all those layers. It was a little bit wonky, the sewing. Anyway. I wanted to put some words on here, so I found through in my stash a couple of words that I wanted to use. So yesterday was one of them, and also this word, words, Seashore Royale, and I actually think it might have been from an advertisement for a restaurant, a seafood restaurant, but I thought that was, opportunistic to find that, so I grabbed that and stuck that one on. I like that little pop of red on there too. So I've put the ribbon on, and I did actually splash some black ink onto it, but I was wishing that I hadn't done that in the end. So. But never mind. I turned it over. I noticed there was a little bit of tissue still showing, so I actually trimmed that off. And then I thought, I'll put a little writing area on the back. So I cut down a piece of index card. I was originally going to make my tag out of that index card, but I changed my mind about it and used the postcards instead. So give that a quick ink and then glue that on. And there's my completed card. So that's Rhonda Winstead's card done with her prompts and her digital. The next one that I have coming up will be Louisa Heinzel's tag, and then I'll do Barbara's. So look in my video if you want a link to their videos so you can download the printable and join in as well. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. Cheers from Australia.